Oh, you thought Chatlijam was too casual? Nobody thought that because nobody has seen the video, but I don't do this for views. I do it because talking to the camera right now feels great and fun. Um, this is Chatlijam, the show where I talk about whatever the hell I want because it's my show and not yours. I really like that. Um, yeah, fully honest, I tried to record like a life update because I don't know, my life has been hella interesting. Not all good, but interesting. And then I realized that I don't like talking about my life, which is wild considering earlier today I sat and talked about my life for 2 hours in a coffee shop. And Megan, I'm sorry. Um, but I spoke a lot about myself and yeah. But yeah, I don't think I'll be posting one anytime soon. Instead, I'm going to talk about a topic of equal importance to my life. That's a joke. Which is the lack of representation in the current West End repertoire. Um, I am just back from London. I saw 6 shows, which, don't get me wrong, is not a lot of shows in comparison to the London theatre market. But I feel like I'm well versed in this. I look at casts often. Um, like, you know, and I don't know. I just think that there is a distinct lack of diversity, particularly within main cast members. And so many shows just have white main casts. Um, as I said, I saw 6 shows, 2 of them plays, 4 of them musicals, and I bought programs at 4 of them. I didn't buy a program at Stranger Things, The First Shadow, or Moulin Rouge because both of them were rewatches, and so I don't have all the current information on their casts. So that is going off of my memory, but of the 4 shows that I saw, of the 4 programs I have here, Devil Wears Prada, The Weir, Clarkston, and Ride the Cyclone, within the main cast, take a guess how many main cast members were people of colour. Now, I'm going to do a quick count of how many characters are I would consider main. And so we've got 3, 6, 5, 11, 14, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go 6 for Devil Wears Prada again, which is 20. So, of 20 main cast members that I am counting, sorry, just doing the math, 3 were people of colour. That's 15%. And I know for a fact that if we look at not just, let's condense it. If we look at the world's population, it's far more. If we look at the London population, I think more than 15% of the London population is a person of colour. And it could just be the shows that I watch. I'm talking about this from a very privileged position. I'm a white male presenting person. I'm aware of that. I am aware of the privilege that I've had in my life. And I want to be held accountable for it, and so maybe it's not my place to call this out. And if it's not, please tell me and this video will be gone. But I feel like, you know, I don't want to have to... It shouldn't just be people of color's fight for diversity. And as I said, it could just be the shows that I watch, because I'm a white male presenting person who goes to the theatre to relate to things. I like shows that I can relate to. For example, Clarkston is a play about two gay men who are going through struggles, and there was a lot that hit home. Devil Wears Prada is about finding yourself in a city. I can relate to that. And so maybe that's what I gravitate towards. But at this point, I shouldn't have to go and see a show I relate to and have it be about white people. Because, I mean, The Devil Wears Prada really saved, which sucks, but it saved this whole thing, because if I just look at Clarkston the Weir and Ride the Cyclone, which, yes, they have small casts, but again, not an excuse. There's one white person in all three of those shows, which is in Ride the Cyclone, because the character is explicitly written to be of Asian descent. And there were so many opportunities to add a person of color into that cast. Yes, they also have an actor with dwarfism in that cast, but once again, it's explicit in the script that they are mute and they have had an accident. And so I think that that's kind of the perfect place for disability representation. Whilst I'm on the topic of disability representation, I think Paddington is doing something great, not only with having a person with dwarfism in the cast, but as the main character, in which I think that there are very few shows that encourage disability representation. Particularly long-running shows, I think that we need to see more disability representation, but we also need more people of color. I mean, of the two plays I saw, which were The Weir and Clarkston, out of the 8 cast members in those two shows, not a single one of them was a person of color. And, okay, fully honest, The Weir is an Irish play. And so I think there is a little bit of leeway, because it's set in rural Ireland, where I am from. I'm from a small port town in Ireland, and there isn't much diversity. But I still think there was an opportunity there. I think that... 1 minute, I'm getting the character up. I think that the character of Valerie could be a person of color, and it would add a lot of depth to her character. For those who haven't seen the play, spoiler warning, she is new to the countryside. She's moved down from Dublin because of a tragic accident. I won't spoil too much, but I think that was it would be really nice to have a person of color play her, because it would add that loneliness, and it would highlight that she is an outsider that is being welcomed in. I also think that it would highlight a lot of the other characters, because the whole play is about them welcoming her to the village, and I think that you can build that depth of character where she's worried about, moving to a rural town in Ireland where there aren't a lot of people of colour, and being welcomed in. It could add a layer to this play that I don't think it was written to have, but could elevate it. I mean, great play, but that's not the topic. I will do a review of The Weir. I've decided that just now. Clarkston. I loved this play. However, it was 3 white people on stage, of which there's nothing wrong with that. But again, there was an opportunity. You could have had either of the boys, and if you're doing one of the boys, or if you're doing Chris, I want to say, yes, if you're doing Chris, you can have Trisha be a person of color as well, in which America is a lot more diverse than where I live. And so I think that it was easy to have 3 white actors on stage. I think that was the simple route. And I don't necessarily know if it was worth it. They're not taking risks anymore, and it shouldn't be a risk to put a person of color on stage. I'm going to say that 10 times, because it shouldn't be a risk to put a person of color on stage. But right now, in the industry that I love, it feels like it is. And that is awful to think about. I'll do the last saving grace, which was The Devil Wears Prada, in which we have Vanessa. Yes. We have Vanessa Williams as Miranda, and Matt Henry as Nigel. And I think that, particularly of the 4 main characters, the 4 protagonists, or the 4 protagonists that the story is mainly about. I included 6, but if we're talking about the main 4, it was a breath of fresh air. Michelle Williams is well known, and then Matt Henry is brilliant. But that really is a saving grace here, in the fact that 2 of our main protagonists are people of color, which, after this trip, was a breath of fresh air. Because this is what I mean. I loved The Devil Wears Prada, and I could relate to it, and it didn't have to have white people. Yes, Matt's rendition of Scene is breathtaking, and I think it was elevated by the fact he was a person of color. But it shouldn't have to be in the script for someone to be a person of color, and that's what I think that The Devil Wears Prada did well, is Nigel isn't originally a person of color. Neither is Miranda. And they didn't have to cast people of color in that role, but they did. And kudos to them. Yeah, I'm going to talk about my own experience within the theatre industry. Now, I only did 6 months. I did a foundation degree. Hopefully I get to do more. But it became very clear to me that the industry is white dominated. I was in a cohort of 51 for my foundation diploma, and I think there were 5 people of colour. I did count when I was there. It was noticeable, which there aren't only 5 talented people of colour who deserve a spot. It feels like a quota that needs met, that they're only meeting barely, rather than having a diverse cast, which will honestly only help people. It can't be a negative thing, because it's different cultures, different experiences that you may never have. The same problem occurs with the classism of the industry, in that there was a situation where I was on a scholarship because physically I couldn't afford it. But when I was in a class, someone essentially said, they did not say it to me, they said it to the class, but it felt personal, that people are only poor because they don't work hard enough. And that is simply not true. Now, is the classism of the industry and the racism of the industry very different? Yes, but they're both ingrained in the industry from the beginning, because theatre is expensive. But they're both ingrained in the industry and have been for a long time, and it's going to take work to get out of that, but that work needs to have started 20 years ago. The work shouldn't start now. Whilst I was also there, not teachers but students turned and said about a performance, imagine Rada doing this, because it was a play about black people, about people of colour, which, it says a lot for a school to be known for their whiteness, let alone one of the top drama schools in the world. But also, within a lot of the other cohorts, I noticed that there wasn't a lot of diversity. There is a distinct lack of diversity within, I want to say all drama schools, but from my experience, at least 2. And 2 of the top drama schools, if not in the UK, in the world. And I just, it's sad. But sorry for getting so serious. This is supposed to be a fun chat, and it turned into me rambling about the racism of the acting industry. Yay! Yeah, I'll do something more lighthearted next time. I promise. See you later.